Chapter 2 times 3 plus 3 times 2. As soon as we reached his lab, I told Dr. Thagoras about the test. Oh dear, he said I was afraid of that. Afraid of what? I asked. There's a lot more to mathematics than just arithmetic, he said. I was hoping you hadn't lost anything except your ability to perform basic calculations. But it appears you were very deeply and thoroughly numbed. I told you, Cypher said, you don't know everything. Be nice, Dr. Thagoras warned the robot. What else is there? Benedict asked. My word, that's an excellent question. Dr. Thagoras scrunched his forehead for a moment. His eyes darted back and forth as if he were watching a grandfather clock. Then he started listing things. There are dozens of concepts and skills: reasoning, estimation, rounding, exponents, logarithms, and lots more. Then there are the fields of math: algebra, calculus, set theory, geometry, trigonometry, game theory, statistics, topology. It's almost endless. He chuckled and then added, I was about to say it is infinite, but that is such a misused concept. I stared at him for a moment before I spoke. I'll never get all of that back, will I? Part of me will be numbed forever? There might be one chance, Dr. Thagoras said. You need to do something that allows you to grasp all of math, inside and out. What are you talking about? I asked. He pointed to the wall behind him. The ring on the outside was built before I started working here, so I don't know a whole lot about it. It's hollow. It was intended as an exhibit, but people found it far too confusing. I think you have to travel the Mobius loop, all the way around the inside of the ring. He got up from his stool and rushed down the hall. This way! We followed him back to the matheteria. He pointed at the far end, to the door marked Maintenance. What's this about a loop? Benedict asked. I assume you failed to watch the video in the lobby. Dr. Thagoras thumped the door. As you may have noticed, the outer ring has a single twist in it. That makes it into a unique shape. If you put your hand on a wall and started walking, you'd have to go all the way around twice before you got back to where you started. I don't get it, Benedict said. Try it yourself with a strip of paper sometime, Dr. Thagoras said. Give one end a half twist, then tape the ends together in a loop. That's called a Mobius strip. Unlike Benedict, I had seen part of the video, but I still didn't see how a twisted strip of paper was going to help us get out of this mess. Dr. Thagoras opened the door. Blue light spilled into the room. Wait. I looked over at the give and take and repetition doors. When we'd gone into those rooms, we'd been in danger of getting trapped. Those had just been small rooms. This was a whole loop. What's the risk this time? I'm not sure, Dr. Thagoras said. Nobody has ever done this. Trapped, Cypher said. You'll be trapped forever. He laughed again. He's joking, right? I asked. He's not programmed to joke, Dr. Thagoras said. Maybe we should just go home, Benedict said. I mean, we can do arithmetic. That should be good enough. Remember when you thought we didn't need any math at all? I said. That didn't work out very well for us, now did it? I guess not, he said. Giving up now won't work either, I said. We have to go. You're right, he said, but why worry? There's nothing that can stump the two of us. He turned toward the open door and said, Bring it on, Mobius. We're ready for you. I started to go inside and then looked back. Any idea how many problems there will be? Well, you had one problem the first time, And then 2 the next time, Dr. Thagoras said. What do you think comes next? 3? I guessed. Possibly, but I think 4 might be more probable, he said. Remember, numbers like patterns. Starting with 1, you double it to get 2, and when you double 2, you get 4. It's a good thing this is the last time, I said. I wouldn't want to go into a place with 8 problems. Benedict and I entered the loop. I hope there aren't any more timers, he said. Dr. Thagoras closed the door behind us. Numbers and symbols flooded back into my brain, along with other things I couldn't identify. Some were just squiggles. Others looked like Greek letters. Suddenly, I knew how to solve those problems from the math test about pets, clothing, fences, and all that stuff. Too bad I wouldn't get a second chance. We were in a low, narrow corridor. It seemed pretty square. The floor was as wide as the walls were high. I guess we were inside the ring. There was a steel door blocking the path to the left, so we headed to the right. There was just enough light to see where we were going. Do you understand this twice around thing he told us about? Benedict asked. I thought about the video with the guy drawing a line on the side of the strip. It still didn't make much sense. Not really. I hope it isn't on the test. I looked down as I walked. Cool. My footsteps left green glowing marks on the floor, showing me where I'd been. There was a slight tilt to the walls and the floor. The farther we walked, the more we leaned sideways. After a while, everything tilted so much, the left wall became the floor and the ceiling became the left wall. That's when we reached the first problem. There was a door ahead of us with a keypad and a screen. Actually, there were 2 screens. One was lit. The other, above it, was upside down and dark. I read the question on the lit screen. Which has more volume, a cube 50 inches tall or a sphere 50 inches in diameter? The keypad had 2 keys, labeled cube and sphere. We'd learned about area in math and had started to learn about volume. Do you know how to figure out the volume of a sphere? I asked Benedict. It's something with pi, right? Benedict said. Yeah, but there has to be another way to figure this out. I pictured the cube. It didn't matter which one was, whether it was 1 inch or 1,000,000 inches. I just had to picture a sphere the same size. Got it, I said as the image in my mind gave me the answer. Me too, Benedict said. I tapped the cube. The sphere would fit inside the cube, so it had to have less volume. I saw another way to think about it. If I started with a 50-inch tall cube, I'd have to carve parts of it away to make it a 50-inch tall sphere. Well, that was easy. We're 1/4 finished, Benedict said. Right, but if we miss any of the 4, we're totally finished. I opened the door and kept walking. Once again, our right wall gradually became our floor. As soon as we got to the point where the floor felt level, we reached the next door. And once again, there were 2 screens. I saw a problem on the lower screen and a keypad below it, with numbers, an enter key, and a percent key. Benedict read the problem out loud. A coin was tossed 5,000 times. It landed with heads showing 2,786 times and tails showing 2,214 times. On the next toss, what is the probability of heads? How are we supposed to figure that out? I said. Benedict pulled a coin from his pocket. I'll start tossing. You keep track until we hit 5,000. It's a good thing there's no time limit. I don't think that's how we find a solution, I said. Benedict flipped the coin and let it land in his open palm. I guess you're right. Besides, it's not the same coin as in the problem. That's it! I grabbed his wrist and pointed at the coin. You're right. It isn't the same coin. He stared at his palm. It doesn't matter which coin we toss, does it? It's a brand new toss. That's the answer. It has nothing to do with what happened before. 5,000 tosses, 5 million, it's the same. All we need to know is the chance of heads on the next toss. Benedict turned the coin over. 2 sides, 2 ways it can land. So it's 1 out of 2. Yeah, 50%. Go ahead. You do it. Benedict put in the answer. That's 2, he said. We're at 50%. Just like the coin. I opened the door and walked through. Wow, Benedict said. Look at that. He pointed at the ceiling. Yeah, wow. I saw footprints up there, leading away. We'd started our loop on the other side of this door, except the ceiling had become the floor as we moved through the twist. One more loop and we'd be back at this door for the final problem. I was beginning to understand what was so special about this Mobius loop. Once again, we went halfway around before we came to the next door. Actually, I realized it was the lower half of the first door we'd come to in the loop. The part that had been the ceiling then, halfway through our first time around, was now the floor, halfway through our second time around. Every time we went halfway around the loop, the walls and floor made a quarter turn. The keypad under the lit screen had 2 buttons. One was marked with an A, the other a B. I read the problem on the screen. Which would be better to get? A, $1 a day for a whole year. B, 1 penny the first week, 2 pennies the second week, 4 pennies the third week, and so on, doubling the amount each week for a year. Well, that sounds like an easy choice, Benedict said. I mean, 1 penny to start, how much could that end up being? It could be a trick, I said. Or a double trick, Benedict said. They make it sound wrong so you'll think it's right, but it's really wrong. It could be a triple trick, I said, or even a quadruple one. No, I hadn't thought of that. Benedict backed away from the door. I didn't really think it could be a triple trick, but I couldn't resist seeing how Benedict would react. Come on, let's stop guessing and figure it out. I wondered how hard it would be to keep track of doubling the money and also adding in the total for each week. I'll do the doubling and you add it, okay? Go for it. Week 1, 1 cent. 1, Benedict said. Week 2, add another 2 cents. And 1 plus 2 equals 3, Benedict said. This is easy. Week 3, add 4 cents. Then 3 plus 4 equals 7. Week 4, add 8 cents. Then 7 plus 8 equals 15. It's almost a month and it's nowhere near $1 yet, Benedict said. And the other way, we'd get $365. That has to be the right answer. Hold on, I want to be sure. Where was I? Oh yeah, week 5, add 16 cents. That's, I lost track, Benedict said. Let's start over. No, I don't think we have to. I guess 15 cents isn't very much after 4 weeks, but it's still 15 times more than we started with. I think the amount is going to grow so big that the answer will be obvious, even if we don't bother adding the totals. Let's start doubling and see what we get. I held up my fingers one at a time to help me keep track. 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. I looked at my hands. We'd finally passed $1 on the 8th week. I kept going. Then 256,